know I'm home. you come around. Can't let them bring you down, 'cause you're either living life or letting it pass by. Na, 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 na.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we revisit the showdown at the last great Coliseum. Canada's Connor Yarashek stops by the show, and we buckle up for our first race in the NASCAR Cup Cars. All of that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Chicagoland Speedway in beautiful Joliet, Illinois. This is the Countdown to Green, presented by Logitech G. The next step in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series is tonight, and it gets real because we are going cup racing as these drivers try to qualify their way in to the championship series. I'm Alan Cavana, happy to be here tonight with two of the best in the business, Ryan Vargas and my friend James Pike. James, cup racing at Chicagoland Speedway, 1.5 miles. You gotta love this.
1.5 miles, and I think an underappreciated 1.5 miles, that as time has gone on, we have only seen the value and the brilliance of its design grow. And so not only is it back on the real life cup schedule later this season, but I think to have it here in the qualifying series schedule as well is going to be a lot of fun. It's a great 1.5 miles that tests these drivers, but also is a lot of fun to just watch as a racetrack too.
Ryan, they call these cookie cutters, but this is not like any other of the 1.5 mile ovals.
Yeah, there's nothing typical about Chicagoland Speedway. 1.5 mile oval, multiple lanes, abrasive surface, and I'm excited for this race because honestly, it's going to be a little bit of a teaser what we're going to see later this summer when the NASCAR Cup Series makes its triumphant return to Chicagoland.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Certainly looking forward to tonight. James, tonight, the qualifying series, not the only championship series happening this week. What else is going on?
Big week for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. It is go time tomorrow evening for the Sunset Splash, the sixth and final tournament of the campaign. At the end of next week's finals from Homestead Miami Speedway, we will crown a champion in the College Series and then take a summer break until the fall where we start the 8 tournament schedule for next year. But we still have business to take care of in the 2025-26 season. And all that action is always going to be on enascar.com/live tomorrow night, 6:45 pre-race, 7 p.m. Eastern for our Week 1 action.
That's tomorrow. Let's look back to last week here in the qualifying series, guys. Bristol, baby, and Top Split had a heck of an ending.
Top Split had a heck of an ending, but it also had a heck of a race. I mean, honestly, when you see these cars, James, go to Bristol, it's almost like second knowledge that it's going to be a bit of a wreck fest, right? But I was so impressed watching these guys battle it out, duke it out. Yeah, there's a little bit of fender banging here and there, but overall a pretty good and pretty clean race.
And I think that's a testament to the strength of this qualifying series field, especially in the top splits, where in years past, I think you're right, we probably would have seen a few more yellow flags, but these drivers are so strong, so precise. There were a few incidents that we saw amongst the top splits. What about a great save here from Michael Frisch, just going full drift, Kyle Busch style. But McCandless, unfortunately, got caught up in about the only major incident that we saw in the evening, and then a bit of bumping and banging at the end. But end of the day, a lot of good side-by-side racing, and at the end of it all, Garrett Maines picks up another win in the top split of competition. So this is how the points shake up as we go into the Cup Series portion of the qualifying series schedule. No shocker to see all of the top 7 drivers and 8 of the top 10 be split one drivers amongst the high folks in the points. And then you got a bunch of fun names here that at this point, Ryan, I think we can say pretty good chance we're going to see them in free agency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at, I would say, the top 6 to 9. Those are guys that I feel really, really confident about. But then you look at the second half of this first page here. You know, Nate Stewart, he was in the weeds for a couple weeks there, outside the top 30. He's now cracked inside of the top 20. So great comeback for him. Jose Solis Jr. up into 15th, the top running split 3 driver. Now, second page here, Garrett Lowe, a little bit of a tough showing so far in 21st. Still pretty comfy, but a lot of work to do. But James, one thing I'm noticing here, no split 5 drivers. We've kind of gotten the split 5 drivers out of this battle for the top 30.
Which I think was going to eventually happen because the quality of racing at the front of this field and the consistency of the best, it's going to be tough to just own points and split 5 the way you need to. But look at 32nd, 3rd, and 4th in points. Doucette, Garza, Falkenham on the outside looking in, Ryan.
Absolutely. And speaking of the format, let's take a look at this format here. We started off this season with 4 rounds in the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks, followed that up with 4 rounds in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, and now we start the final segment tonight. 3 rounds in the NASCAR Cup Series. Remember, you get 1 drop round, 1 mulligan. So if you have a bad race, you can at least toss that one out. But, you know, at the end of the day, that consistency is going to matter. We also are covering multiple races at once, as we're going to be covering some of the different splits here tonight. But this is one thing that I'm looking at. We're down to the final 3. Chicagoland Speedway, the first race with the Cup cars. Then we follow that up with Michigan and Texas. A bunch of big aerodynamic dominant racetracks, James. It's going to get pretty interesting.
Now, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see the action in Chicago and Michigan and Texas. All tracks at least 1.5 miles in length. Michigan a little bit bigger, but all big-time tests that really hit the center of the Coke Series schedule, and you're going to have to be good at those tracks if you want to survive in the championship series, Alan.
Certainly, it gets real tonight with the Cup car at Chicagoland. Let's bring in a special guest from eRacer and the Money Lap podcast, our friend Josh Mendoza. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Oh, thanks for being on, first of all. We love all the paint schemes. We love the involvement. What's your role with the podcast and eRacer?
So I produce the podcast with Parker Klickerman and Landon Castle. I kind of wrangle the cats, get them on, and to talk about all things motorsports, which most weeks they're able to do. And unfortunately, this week we're not going to be able to do. But instead, I think we got something else cool to talk about, which is the Money Lap Qualifying Challenge. We got together and decided this year we're going to do something a little bit different for choosing our drivers. Rather than just doing the regular, talking during free agency and figuring out who we're going to have sign on board with us, we were going to let them choose their fate.
Nice.
And this is the format. Essentially, everyone who wanted to compete could sign up with us, put a Money Lap logo anywhere on their car, and if they were the top 2 of the people who put Money Lap logos on their car, they would get right of first refusal to the seats in the Coke Series.
So it's a race within a race with some good talent on here. I mean, who are you looking towards? I mean, it'll be here soon enough. May will be here. Do you have your eyes on anybody for this upcoming season?
Well, last year we had Matthew Morton fill in for us at Dover, and he performed really well on his Coke Series debut. I was not expecting any fill-in drivers to be able to come in and immediately show up, but Matthew Morton certainly has been able to do so and has a pretty dominant lead. Now, everyone else kind of in the top 5, I think, has a chance at it. There is one story that I think would be kind of fun. Logan Helton being able to come from a Firecracker 400 champion in our personal e-racer events to potentially driving for us. That would be something kind of interesting to follow along, but everyone in the top 5, I think, has a really strong likelihood of getting an opportunity to get a chance at that second seat.
Hey, you, Parker, and Landon, you make this fun. So let me just say thank you for that, and thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. We're all about watching these guys compete and have a good time out there. And we love it when the competition is the show. And we think that this whole format gives us that opportunity to do something different.
I love it. We'll check back in, and thank you for being on. Josh Mendoza on with us from eRacer. Let's take a look at tonight's race analysis, James.
courtesy of our friends at Logitech G. We are 30 minutes and a little over 30 miles outside of Center City, Chicago in Joliet. This is a 1.5 miles, just under 2.5 kilometer circuit. 18 degrees of banking in the turns, 5 degrees and 11 degrees of banking on the front and back stretch. This place opened in July of 2001. Kevin Harvick, the inaugural winner in the Cup Series here, and the most recent winner in qualifying series competition or its predecessors, won Mr. Connor Yarashak. Now, the neat thing about Chicago is that even though it is 1.5 miles, there is a very particular and very big difference. This is the backstretch of Texas Motor Speedway on the left and Chicagoland on the right. And as you can see, the left side, Texas, it is a back straight. Chicagoland, we have a back stretch because it does curve a little bit. It's not a completely straight portion of the racetrack. And at Chicagoland, you are always turning the race car. It's part of what makes Chicagoland so unique, but it's also part of what makes the racing so good.
Absolutely. That's why we love to be back there here in the series. Can't wait to get back there in real life this summer. And why don't we talk to a driver who has won there, who is waiting for this championship series to start. Connor Yarashak joining the show tonight. Connor, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Oh, it's good to have you here. We're getting into this qualifying series. Just a few more races. The Cup stuff starts tonight. Can't wait for that. But let's talk about you. How does it feel to represent eNASCAR from Canada? Be the Canadian driver, the spotlight on you from up there.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat opportunity. I would say when I'm doing the championship series stuff and representing Letarte Esports, I definitely feel it a little bit less. I'm more representing my team and my sponsors in that regard. But when I'm racing in the college series and representing my school, I definitely feel like I'm more so representing my country, and it's definitely a cool opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and you do it so well, and you're successful at it. We know you're waiting for the championship series to start, but you are in the thick of it in the college series. Right now, you are getting ready for the Sunset Splash tournament to begin. How are you staying on top of your game?
Yeah, well, obviously, I have a pretty nice points lead going into the finale. So, I've always been a believer that when you're trying to make sure nothing bad happens and you're playing it safe, that's when the bad stuff happens. So I'm just going to approach it like any other week and do my best to win every single round, every single feature. So, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and it's a big opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It never hurts to collect trophies, no matter what the
No,
series.
it does not.
But when we get to the championship series in May, we're always talking teammates. It's going to be a pair every time. Do you have an eye on it? Someone who would make an ideal teammate for you?
Yeah, so obviously I've signed with Letarte for next year, and that's one of the advantages that us top 20 guys have is I'm locked in and I can start looking at who's out there and the opportunities, and honestly, like on being on my back end team Nexus Esports, those are the guys that I'm testing around, I'm interacting with, people like Quinton Warman, Sebastian Marin, Thomas Lloyd, all the guys that I work with on a weekly basis. These are guys that I would love to have a teammate and get to work with in the championship series.
Yeah, we'll see who comes out of the qualifying series. That's why it's so much fun to watch it each week. When you think about the championship series, and over the last few years, I mean, really, we've gone to different tracks across the world, England, Italy, down to Brazil. Is there any place internationally you would like to see the Coke series go?
I feel like I just have to say Montreal. I mean, get a little race going on home turf. I can't even say I've necessarily done many laps there, but I mean, being in Canada, it's got to be some sort of advantage, right?
I would hope so. And there were some good in real life races back there. Most sport is a good one. Is a good one as well. We brought it up before. The last time we raced here in any sort of series, you were the winner. So do you have any? I don't know. Do you have any advice for these guys trying to qualify and get their way to the championship series? Any advice about Chicagoland for them?
Yeah, Chicagoland has always been one of my favorite racetracks on the sim. It races really well. There's a lot of usable lanes, which lots of times it's normally just one or two lanes that really come in, but Chicagoland, you got all the seams that really seem to work. When I won my race there, it came down to restarts and managing traffic. So I feel like that's going to be critical like any race. You got to take advantage when they're packed up before dirty air really halts your progress.
Well, good advice there. We'll talk to you during the race as you watch and look for both the teammate and potentially competition when we start the championship series. Connor Yarashak, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Let's have a good race.
Yeah, let's do it because we're getting the Cup Series. Only 3 more races before we get to the Championship Series, Ryan. It starts tonight with the Cup cars.
Absolutely. It starts tonight with the Cup cars. It's a new type of car, but on an old school track. A lot of slipping and sliding around, and I'm excited to catch all the action.
What are you watching
love
for,
how
James?
you can go like 3 and 4 wide at points here. I think restarts are going to be really entertaining to watch. And you can really take advantage of the high groove here, especially in the initial laps of a run to gain some track position. So watch for some guys to try and take some risks up top and make this a lot of fun for all of us watching.
Yes, only 3 more races to go to qualify for the Championship Series. We're going to Chicago. We are back at Chicagoland Speedway. Can't wait for tonight. We're going green right after this.
Racing isn't just a game. It's a way of life. Every lap, every moment. Practice is about consistency. Winning doesn't come easy.
Yo! My turn, Bubba.
Feel the road. Own the race. Logitech G wheels and pedals available now on Amazon.
How fast could a stock car go?
Born from bootleggers, built by rule breakers. We don't ask permission. We don't seek approval. We just are. The most relentless, unpretentious athletes on the planet. Chasing glory at 200 miles per hour. Defiantly unapologetic. Authentically NASCAR.
We're happy that you're hanging out with us. It's another Tuesday night, and we flip to a new chapter in this qualifying series. The NASCAR Cup Series cars are next.
I believe in something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. You know I couldn't be ours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire. So I see, and I still believe. Take me, take me.
Live from iRacing's virtual Chicagoland Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 9 of the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. For the first time since 2019, we are going Coke Series racing in Chicago, and it comes at a critical part on this qualifying campaign. And we're happy that you're hanging out with us on the iRacing Esports Network. As always, with Alan Cavana and Kenneth Bueno, myself, Evan Posoko, and guys, we are through the Craftsman Trucks, through the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, and now KB, really a one-to-one comparison of what we'll see when we race with $500,000 on the line starting in a couple of weeks from now The Cup cars in 3 more weeks will determine the top 30 drivers who are headed to free agency.
We have talked about all of the championship series drivers that are locked in for this season, already having a preview of their competition. Possibly, this is the best preview you could ever have. Those drivers in the same car that they will possibly be able to race in just a few weeks' time, Ellen. And at Chicagoland Speedway, you bring the legends back with a track like this that returns on the NASCAR calendar. Michael Conti is back here in the series, and what a way to have it with all the drivers prepping up for this stretch.
Let's say what he's got for these qualifying series drivers tonight. I'm just excited. You can see him there. What has Michael been up to all this time? The legend himself. He looks ready. He looks poised. He looks ready to go. Probably going right to the top split tonight, guys. So he, there's some competition issues there about who he might be booting out of the top split, but you're going to have to get around him and his skills to succeed tonight.
Yep, drivers who are locked into the championship series can't race in it. He's not competing in that, so he is fair game. And to your point, as a top caliber driver, that may shift some people down to other splits. We'll talk about why that might be important when we take a look at the points, Kenneth. But we look at where we sit on the calendar as a whole. And again, under this new format, we've learned a lot about who's good in the trucks and who's good in these O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars. But 3 quick weeks in the Cup cars, the exact cars they'll drive when they contest the championship series a little bit later on, is the last little twist to see if anybody can turn their fate around.
But it's the completion of this brand new format, Evan, to get these drivers in all 3 phases of NASCAR competition, get them all a shot to run for top 30 in points, to get you into free agency, and it's every single driver that's involved. And look at the last 3 that we have here in the schedule. Chicagoland tonight, Michigan, Texas. We've only had 2 proper mile-and-a-half races, Evan, all season. We have 2 more in just the final 3 with the NASCAR Cup Series cars. So you got to really manage your intermediate pace if you are the driver base. The team's working on the setups, and you are, of course, prepped for 3 very different and very difficult to drive racetracks to finalize it all.
And I know I've said it a couple times this year, but Michigan and Texas, both of those tracks are in the round of 10 on the Championship Series playoff schedule. So could it be a sneak peek at what some of this top-level qualifying talent may do if they can get to that point? Well, that's not till September, but maybe just a preview in the coming weeks. Qualifying is done. Let's go and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And it is Blake Reynolds, best of them all. He's going to bring us to the ring flying tonight alongside Seth Knoll in second. Then Matthew Morton and Graham Bolin are going to double up. They'll start on row number 2. Cody Bias and John Hall will start row 3 in the 5th and 6th position. And then a pair of race winners are on row 4 with Wyatt Tinsley starting 7th and Daniel Falkenham starting in 8th. Behind them, it's Andrew Navarro in the number 9 spot and your Coca-Cola feature driver, Michael Cozy Jr. in P10.
Quentin Warman, who runs second in points entering tonight, is 11th. Michael Conti in his illustrious return in the qualifying series, he is 12th. Thomas Lloyd back in 13th. Adam Garza trying to escape from below the cut line in the top 30 from 14th. Garrett Maines winner at Bristol, top 15 to start. Payne Howell 16th. Kenny Brady 17th. Sebastian Marinate, really deep start for the most dominant driver of the season, 18th. Jacob Wilkerson 19th. And Eddie Kerner rounds out the top 20 in qualifying.
That brings you to 21st, where you'll find Brian Beccario and Michael Frisch. They'll make up row number 11 in the running order. Matt Busa, series veteran, is going to be 23rd. He's next to Kwame Scott, another familiar face, in 24th. Sean Conklin will roll from the number 25 spot. He's next to Justin Smith in 26th. Garrett Lowe is 27th. Blake McCandless hoping to turn things around in the Cup cars. He's 28th. Justin Campbell 29th. And when you talk about the return of Mike Conti, Ray Alfala, he's never left. He's still there. He's in the number 30 spot.
And in 31st, Rocky Boyd the third. Tyler Latterell back in 32nd. Octavio Rondeletto is the final one to qualify in 33rd. And then 3 more after that. Kevin Champagne in 34th. Christopher Pfeffer 35th. And Caden Honeycutt. We haven't seen him in top split until this very night at Chicagoland back in 36.
So big moment for Caden to participate in this one. And again, if he's in, it means somebody else is out. So back to an intermediate racetrack for the first time in some time, Alan. Let's take a look at our Coca-Cola race analysis.
100 laps tonight around this beautiful speedway, 150 miles. Pit road speed, 45 miles per hour. Just 3 tire sets available. And expecting that pit window, if we go green, probably going to be right down the middle at 50 laps. Pit window of 48 to 52 laps. We'll see what kind of strategy potentially could play out with that extra set, but pretty straightforward, unlike that backstretch here, Evan.
Yeah, back stretch, not back straight. You guys counted that one in Countdown to Green. Unique layout for the Chicagoland Speedway. And Kenneth mentioned that Sebastian Barron, 18th in qualifying. That's the lowest starting spot for any previous race winner in this field here tonight. Well, he has won the other 2 intermediate races on the year. He won in Vegas in a truck. He won at Homestead in an O'Reilly car. Can he do the same in the Cup car, or are we going to see a noticeable difference of performance from him or any of these other drivers now that arguably tonight we see the biggest car change of the season? There's 3 races left until we get to free agency. Let's go racing in Chicagoland. Already scattering 3 and 4 wide, but it's at the tail end of the top 10. Home free off of turn 2. Reynolds for the lead. Knoll on the outside defending the number 2 position, with Morton challenging down to the inside in the money lap machine on the bottom. Look at the midfield using this progressively banked wide turns here in Chicago, and that wide apron. It's 2 rows deep down there below the white line. Plenty of drivers going down there after lap 1.
Only 1 lap complete, Evan, and you can already sense how big of a difference this is in terms of the car change from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars to these next-gen machines that are much more twitchy in the corners, so you do not want to get this car as sideways as maybe you could get away with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series car. This next-gen does not like any sort of yaw in any direction, so you get sideways on cold tires in the first few laps, you can spell disaster very quickly. So you saw all those drivers at the bottom towing a thin line, being very careful with how far they want to push those cars to start.
Second split underway as well. You can see multiple lanes of racing down there. But again, this is the Gen 7 car here on a 1.5-mile racetrack. It was this type of racetrack that has made this type of racing so good with this car. It brought Chicagoland back from the dead, right, in real life. That's why we're back here now here in the qualifying series. A track that deserves it with a car that can perform on it. I'm looking so forward to see what these drivers can do tonight.
Yeah, much like the last time we saw it in this Coca-Cola series, last time NASCAR Cup cars were racing here in Chicago was back in 2019. The track's been used for a lot of things since then, a storage facility, an EDC concert venue, but NASCAR racing back in Chicago here in 2026 and on the real world side of things as well. Also, we mentioned Sebastian Barron, right? Lowest qualified position out of a previous race winner in the field tonight. He is now the highest running driver who has won a race this season in the field. He has already passed 13 cars, and after starting 18th on the grid, is inside of the top 5, and we're only working lap number 5 as you watch a battle with the 67 machine, and we jump up and take a look off of the back of Matthew Morton, the driver in 3rd. He'll first see Graham Bolin, and the next man up in line is the aforementioned 23 is Sebastian Barron.
Just so impressive to see what Marion did on that opening jump. It was because everybody had backed up in the rows where he was, about rows 8 to 9. They all got really stacked up, so he took advantage, middle 3 wide, and just used the high line to get all the way around. And he's not even on his proper rig, guys. His throttle pedal had mishapped earlier in the day, so he has to use a friend's rig to be able to race tonight from Chicagoland, and already is very comfortable in that setup, right behind Cody Bias in the running for the top 5, and Matthew Morton got a good look at him running now to 2nd inside of Seth Knoll.
All the more impressive. He's doing it almost with a hand tied behind his back, but we know what Seth Marin has done in this series so far in the first 8 races. I just think so many eyes are on him tonight. We've been asking the Championship Series drivers who are waiting for these guys to come and start the series next month, who they're looking at. Everyone has their eyes on Seb Marin. With now being in the Cup Series, this gives us a real taste of what's possible for Marin and who the competition really needs to be looking at when we get to the Championship Series.
Marin continues to lead your championship standings coming into tonight. 3 races to go. After tonight, we will factor drops into the points we talk about. That will shuffle some things around. But Marin has been the man to beat, already having secured 3 race victories on the season. Garrett Maines trying to chase him down, though. Picked up his 2nd race win of the year just a week ago in Bristol, but this race has not gone in Garrett Maines' favor. He started this race in 15th position, guys. He is down to 35th and is more than 8 seconds off of the lead. So something is going wrong big time for the driver of the number 6. I took a quick look if I could find a moment or something, but that car, to me at least, just looked like it was way off pace from the jump. So I don't know if he's fighting some sort of a hardware issue or what, but Garrett Maines P35, that is a big drop for a driver who we were also expecting to contend and has a lot of experience in these Cup cars.
Well, remember, Evan, you remember the restart, the initial start that I mentioned Sebastian Marin taking advantage of? Garrett Maines picked up front-end nose damage from a car right in front of him and what believed to be Thomas Lloyd on the initial start from the inside. So you get any amount of that front end nose damage, the engine could be off center. You can have a bit of those RPMs lost on the straightaways, and overall aerodynamically the car just handles like a brick in the middle of traffic and even by itself. So all that lost speed has built up to Garrett Maines having this run right now back in 35th on a very deep start.
Just a shame after what we saw in Bristol. I mean, highlight level worthy stuff. Lucky to get the checkered flag now that he has a bad start to this race here in the Cup Series at Chicagoland.
So he struggles at the back and maybe hopes to get a caution to get that thing down pit road for repairs. We're looking at this battle at the tail end of the top 10. That's the 39 machine. Daniel Falkenham, center of 3 wide. They will sort it out for the time being. And you can see now the challenge behind them comes as Michael Cozy Jr. trying to get to the outside of John Hall in a battle for 10th and 11th position. We'll see a lot of side-by-side action in the center of the corner as different drivers choose the low lane or choose the high lane. This is a perfect example. Bottom, middle, top, you name it, somebody is taking every single lane, trying to find a pocket of clean air to carry that speed through the corner, get that car to rotate, and make up a position. So those options will be there aplenty. Not missing anything in the battle for the number 1 position. Worth noting, though, Matthew Morton did eventually get around Seth Knoll in the battle for 2nd. Knoll dropping down to P6. So he's dropped a few spots from the get-go, and it is the return of the 2014 Championship Series champion Michael Conti back behind the wheel. Yeah, instant top split driver out here mixing it up with some of the up-and-comers and some drivers who he's competed against before in that Championship Series level.
I have a hunch, Evan, that the reason Conti is making his return tonight is because of this combo. He has previously expressed his gratitude, his appreciation for this specific combo on the iRacing service. He likes the way it drives. He's tested a lot here. He's ran a lot of laps in this configuration, and as he runs the high side, just trying to peek around Seth Knoll in the battle for 6th place. I just think it's the combo. This car, you know, it doesn't like a lot of that oscillation. Chicagoland gives you that challenge. It's pretty tough to drive, so I think Conti sees this combination with the talent level around this series and says, why not give it a shot?
How fun is this? How fortunate are we? We're getting to see Michael Conti battle it out with Seb Marin, right? A legend in the game versus someone trying to make his name and get to the Championship Series, who's leading the standings right now here in the qualifying series, but then going up and going toe-to-toe on a 1.5-mile racetrack in a Cup car against Michael Conti. It's a fun battle to watch, one I didn't expect that we would get to see right now, and we're seeing it right as we speak.
I was trying to think of like what a real-world equivalent would be, right? To have a former champion come back and, compete at this kind of a level. And it's almost like seeing a Connor Zilic and a Jeff Gordon do a battle, right? 2 converging drivers at obviously different points in their careers, but extremely talented. Fun to see Conti back onto the racetrack. And another cool thing about iRacing is that you can get series veterans show back up for a qualifying series race like this, or do some of the one-off big events on the service. And, if they've still got the talent, they can jump in and do it. They don't have to worry about the logistics of finding an open seat that's a competitive race car to be able to go out and do it. And Conti, his presence on the sim, has never gotten that far away, right? Working with Team Conti, they have a big presence as well in the setup world, and working with a lot of the teams as well on the Championship Series side of things. So he has not been far, even though he has not been in the driver's seat, but it's a treat to watch. And again, to both he and Seb Marin now slicing through the field together. They want to get up to this battle for the race lead. Matthew Morton has reeled in Blake Reynolds, looking to the inside. 66 going to shade low. And now Morton looking to the outside in our first battle for the lead of the night.
Smart choose by Matthew Morton there to go up high and try to side draft Blake Reynolds, bring him back on that backstretch and bring him into turn 3. You watch here, especially in turns 1 and 2 and in the corners, these bumps hit you so drastically here at Chicagoland that whatever lane you choose, if you bobble on any one of those bumps, it's the great equalizer, could slow either one of those lanes down. But great defense from Blake Reynolds, using the high side, carrying that momentum into the backstretch, and now allowing Matthew Morton to be just a little bit further away, a bit more elbow room for Reynolds, and a really good night that Reynolds needs to have. Only 43 clear of the top 30 cut line. He's been looking for a shining moment all season. This night could be it.
Just 20 laps in, a fifth of the way home, and we are seeing that battle for the lead. How great it was in terms of seeing high and low going into the corners. That's why we love bringing these tracks back, this new Gen 7 car on a track like this, and even deeper in the pack. Look at this, 3 wide, but all those 3 cars with options as they go down the backstretch and into the corner. 3 wide, not the most fun, almost, we'll call it 4 wide there, battling back in the back. Such tough racing right now, but that's what you can do here. Oh, not quite.
Brady around, he's going to lock it up. Do we get the caution? We do. The Inferno Toyota of Kenny Brady comes to a stop on the front straightaway and right at that 1/5 distance marker. We have caution to flag at number 1 on the afternoon. We saw lots of 2 wide, 3 wide. This ended up being 4 wide gone wrong. We'll get a second look at it in a minute. In the meantime, let's check in with split number 2. Ryan Doucette in the 15 leads over Dylan Basin and Jaden Hopp. Those are your top 3 runners in split number 2 at the moment. Let's bring in our driver analyst on the night. It's Championship Series driver with Letart Esports, Connor Urashak. Connor, thanks for hanging out with us and lending your expertise. I know it's a short sample size, but what are your first takes on that opening stint with these Cup cars in Chicago?
Yeah, that was a good little run there in top split. It was getting to the point on tires that I think the people that were kind of went hard there the first 20 were going to start kind of paying the price, and some guys were going to come back. But I mean, you got to see Chicagoland at its finest, all the lanes working. That's why they got 4 wide there and wrecked. So I mean, it's definitely looking like it's going to be a fun race.
You've obviously gone through what is now the old qualifying format very recently, but similar concept where you had to go through a truck and an O'Reilly car into a Cup car, just a little bit more spaced out from one another. Is it fair to say that the Cup car is the most different, maybe the biggest jump when comparing the two? And, what are these drivers going to have to deal with racecraft-wise? Like we saw that battle for the lead, right? Drivers jockeying for position in a Cup car specifically compared to what we've been doing for 8 weeks.
Yeah, so it's really the most different car by a mile. It's definitely my favorite car now, and it never used to be, but I mean, it's a really good chance for guys that are maybe not big names or you haven't heard from a lot. Like, if they can prove that, the Cup car, they can run up front in the Cup car, I mean, I think that says a lot about their chances in the championship series.
And obviously one point that we heard with Sebastian Marin was that he had some throttle pedal issues and is actually using somebody else's equipment for that. I have had, back in the old Pro Series days, drivers actually contest races from my rig, which is not theirs. We'll take a second look at what happened with the incident with Kenny Brady. 4 wide coming off of 4, and they all just kind of get compressed up by that 3 on the bottom, and Kenny's the odd man out. One thing we stress is, right, it doesn't really matter what your setup is. We've seen drivers win championships with a wheel on a desk and, kind of full cockpit rigs, Connor. So even though rig to rig may not give a driver advantage, I think it's more comfortability, right? It's when you're not in your rig, doesn't matter how high quality the setup is or not. What are some of the challenges that Seb's going to be dealing with when a piece of his hardware is not what he's used to?
Yeah, so I've spotted Seb, and Seb's been one of my closest friends on the game for a long, long time. And the funny thing about him is he's the complete opposite me. I'm kind of a guy that likes things a certain way, and I don't really change much, but he's the opposite. He's always tinkering with something, changing wheels, doing this, doing that. So if there's anybody out there that I think can handle this obviously unfortunate circumstance, it's going to be him.
Connor, we've seen a lot of other Coke Series championship drivers that have joined us on the broadcast, and we always ask them the question of how do you make of the competition that may be against you in the season? For you, you're one of the few championship series drivers that has been spotting current drivers that are trying to qualify. So for you, getting that extra deeper level of understanding and seeing these races play out from all these perspectives, how has that helped you figure out the drivers that possibly are going to make free agency, join you and the rest of the field in the championship series, and what you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new names this year. I feel like in years previous, you kind of saw a lot of the same names making their way back in, but this year it really does seem like with the new format, there's a lot of people that I've barely heard of, or I really thought they were underdog guys that come through. So just getting to see how they've been managing these races and getting good finishes is definitely something that it's been neat to watch.
Green flag back out on the bottom of our screen as top split gets back underway. We had your top 4 drivers stay out and did not pit. That's Reynolds, McCandless, Lowe, and Kevin Champagne. So 4 drivers on old tires, everybody else on either 2 or 4 fresh ones. So the man on the move is Morton, but a huge moment for the driver of the 5. He was the first guy on tires with that mistake. Now it's Sebastian Marin leapfrogging him. Marin going to try to make a 2-tire pit stop work. And a caution behind just as quickly as we got back underway, Alan, in split number 1. We'll go back under the yellow, so we'll keep chatting with Connor and jump back to split number 2 live action again.
Yeah, Connor, take notes on that one. Take 4 tires next time. or just be careful out there. But the fact that we are just a few races away from the championship season, I know you're racing in the college series as well, but when you think top-level competition, what do you have to do to keep your game at its peak, to be ready for when the championship series starts after this long break?
Yeah, and that's a good question, especially since I've had a long off season. So obviously the college series has been a really big plus for me to just keep that competitive spirit going and just have something to compete. But really, a lot of your success on the sim comes down to just time put in. The more time you put in, the better you're going to be at. I mean, I watch it every week with people on Nexus, my back end team. The people that are putting in the time are the people that more likely than not are getting results. So just keeping up on testing and finding ways to keep the game fun and keep yourself on the game is really the most important thing.
Let's get a second look at the chaos that was early off of the restart in split number 1. It's the second caution of the night. The first yellow came from some 4 wide. They'll call that 4 wide adjacent. They had just gotten away from it, and again, he has to be the bottom car, pushes up and just compresses the drivers up on the outside, leading to an accident. Connor, I mean, this Chicagoland Speedway specifically, it's been a minute since we've raced it in the championship series, or in the Coke series, I guess, for both now what is qualifying and championship, but you're a race winner here at Chicagoland. So in your opinion, what is it about the Chicagoland Speedway that you personally enjoy and maybe lends it to being what seems to be a lot of drivers' favorites?
Yeah, it really is just a fun track. I think it's really just the way the lanes work. Any track that you can move around seems to be what the general service seems to enjoy. I mean, you even right now watching in split 2, you have cars running all over the track to make lap time. So it's definitely fun to be able to do that. But you also see that with this A car on the restarts in first split, that drivers know how hard it is to pass once you get spread out. So they're trying to get all they can get before it gets strung out.
On board with Tommy Gossett in the number 13 position in split number 2. He's one of the drivers we were looking at when we were looking at points earlier. 28th in the standings, 75 above the cut line. A driver who needs to find success. And I don't know if a P12 this late in the year is going to do it when that's your buffer. There have been less and less split 2, split 3, and actually now no split 4 drivers except for 2 of them that are being scored inside of the top 30. So we have seen that margin for error shrink as the year has gone on, which as what we were expecting to see as we got later into the season and into these NASCAR Cup cars. Again, Dylan Basin continuing to lead over Jaden Hopp, Nate Stewart, Garrison Hogan, and Daniel Naney. The top 5 right now in split number 2. They're already about 10 laps ahead of split number 1 on pace. They have been green from the get-go. Drivers in top split getting set for to put the second caution flag of the night behind them. That seems to be the opposite of what we've seen for the most part this year. Split number 1 has been one of the cleanest splits throughout all of them, and it has allowed us to go back and watch other splits later. Tonight might be the opposite. All right, restart coming up. Blake Reynolds still on the old tires. Him and both Garrett Lowe have no new tires. They're on the front row. Steb Marin's the first car on 2. Cody Bias, the first car on 4, and already 4 wide into turn 1.
It was Adam Garza making the move underneath on the apron, and John Hall getting out of the way. 4 wide still, 2 rows deep. Coming off of turn 2, they remain like that. Down the back stretch, Adam Garza still underneath, Michael Conti right in the middle, and Daniel Falkingham needing good points tonight. Has to stay alive. Wyatt Tinsley from the top shelf, still 3 abreast. Morton and Marin go at it for 3rd on the front stretch back to turn 1.
In the middle of it all is Michael Conti making his return. I don't know if he signed up for all this, but in the middle going in, and he's going to be the one who kind of benefits from this, showing off the experience at a track like Chicagoland Speedway. What a fun restart this is on a mixture of tires.
They were 4 wide, 2 rows deep for about 3/4 of a lap around this Chicagoland Speedway, and you're right, Conti was dead center of it all, and look at a slide job. Tyler Latterell just came up and shut the door on the 5 car. Welcome back to a former Championship Series champion. They are not giving any extra room to the veteran Mike Conti, who's back in the field. And again, we talk about some of the greats, and Ray Alfala has been with us throughout all of this qualifying series. He is up 10 positions. Will this transition to the Cup car give Alfala something extra that he has yet to have so far this year? It's 2 Coca-Cola Chevrolets in line as he and Michael Cozy Jr. are back there in 16th and 17th. 3 wide now for the race lead, and on the bottom is the place to be. Matthew Morton going to use the 2-tire pit stop and is the first driver to clear Reynolds and Lowe to get to clean air.
It took a little while, Evan, for the leaders on the fresh tires to get around all the drivers on the older tires, which right now is just Garrett Lowe and Blake Reynolds there in the middle, 3 wide. Here comes Marin down to the inside in turn 1, and Cody Bias to follow. What a restart by Cody Bias to make a pit stop, get the fresh rubber, be on the bottom. Outside, Garrett Lowe sideways, and a caution flag waves. Garrett Maines around on the backstretch.
Garrett Maines, Blake McCandless, and Kenny Brady involved. So for 2 of the 3, when it rains, it pours. Brady was already in an accident earlier. Garrett Maines received that front end damage on the opening lap checkup, and it seems like Blake McCandless always, unfortunately, just seems to find himself in something this year, and I don't think the transition to the Cup cars going the way the driver of the 20 wanted. We will wait to see what happened. I think it started with McCandless. He was scored in the number 24 position the last time by the start-finish line.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of eNASCAR. Sim Racing Expo. From the Green Hell to the Queen City, the world's largest sim racing expo is racing into Charlotte, Memorial Day weekend.
It's the 3rd caution flag in the opening 30 laps and change for the top split drivers in round number 9 of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Has things slowed down again, and a couple more drivers to the pit lane. Call it about a half a dozen down it in this time, maybe closer to 10 by the time it's all said and done. A lot of drivers back down and in. Remember, we talked about the fuel pit window kind of close to halfway. So many times this season, KB, that has meant we've gotten just to halfway and then had a green flag pit cycle. 65 to go. I think we are beyond that number, but seems like a lot of drivers at the back just coming in to top off. You don't know how the yellow flags will play out, so interesting because we haven't had a race quite like this so far this year. As we take a look at McCandless, he's the black number 20.
Yeah, usually we've been accustomed to seeing those long runs kick in, and then the drivers usually have a fair play. They know their plan. There's the replay of the recent crash. Blake McCandless just getting sideways there, similar to the Bristol crash he had last week, just getting sideways, overcorrects the car just a little bit too much, and it's really tough to wrangle that next-gen car when it's sideways mid-corner like that, and Garrett Maines being involved. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see just the different strategies and to see what Reynolds and the other drivers have done to stay out so far.
Well, there's more coming up in the world of eNASCAR. The time trials are done, and week number 1 of the final tournament of the season for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, the Sunset Splash at Homestead Miami Speedway, is tomorrow night. That is Wednesday, April 15th, with a 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start right here on the iRacing Esports Network. And Connor Yurashak, it's in your hands, we'll call it. I mean, you've been a high competitor in that for the entirety of the season. Things are looking good for you coming into that one. So since we've got you hanging out, I'll just ask you, what's the outlook headed into the college series, and how much fun has that been all year?
I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and obviously the outlook looks very, very positive. But I mean, the job's not finished. So we still got a lot of races left, and I mean, a lot can happen with that format, with the heats and the features and the LCQ. So you just gotta try to queue up front and stay out of the mess. As with these races, as you see right now, what's going on in top split. I mean, the farther up front you are, the safer you're gonna be. So, I mean, it's where you gotta be.
Carson Hocevar, familiar name. He's the restart control car down there in split number 2. As we watch split number 1 come to the green, Connor, we just mentioned obviously the trucks, the O'Reilly cars, the Cup cars, how difficult it is for these drivers to adapt. You're driving those trucks in the college series. Is there anything you can learn driving those while the championship series is off, or are you just able to compartmentalize and that not affect how you cheat the Cup cars as we go back green?
Yeah, I feel like the truck is definitely similar to the Cup car in the way it drives, way more than the O'Reilly. So, I mean, it's not so much the way that the car handles that you're learning. It's just more like general racing, where I want to be, how I want to position, learning how other people race. I mean, all these scenarios that you find yourself in are things that you can just put in the memory bank and use when you need.
Any time behind the wheel sounds like a good time, and we wish you the best of luck in that one. Again, week number 1 tomorrow night, that's April 15th, and then week number 2, where we'll crown a champion Wednesday, April 22nd. All of that right here on the iRacing Esports Network. So top of your screen off of the restart in split number 1, Matthew Morton controlling things. Remember, he took 2 tires. The first car who took 4 in the running order is Cody Bias, but he's kind of blocked in. He's the black and white number 11. That's that Toyota up top, trying to find some clean air and get around the 10 of Garrett Lowe, but he just can't do it, KB. He's boxed in.
But he's in the right lane to do it. You'd rather be on the outside having this problem than being on the very bottom, where you're going to have to use less throttle because the cars on the outside just pinch you from the top, especially right here. But he's going to have to deal with a dive right on the bottom from Daniel Falkingham. Talk about ascend in turn 1. Sideways is Blake Reynolds, and all the while 3 wide is going to happen behind him. Michael Conti trying to figure himself out through the middle, and it's just a whole phenomenon of race cars going on in 3 and 4. What a drive by Daniel Falkingham to get around 2 and 1.
You see the action that this track produces in terms of coming off the corner from the low lane and sliding up in front all the way to the wall. That can cause chaos. It could also cause another driver to have to check up. It's like, what are you going to do if you're that outside car? Push it? Later on in this race, you may not see as much give and take as you are seeing right now. But guys, I'm really loving the race that Matthew Morton is driving. He wasn't the fastest car, at least at first wasn't the leader, had to track down the leader, and now he's been able to get it through this pit cycle and get to the front and control this race with some strategy. I like what he's doing. Now we're taking a look back, the replay at the second split, and what brought us under caution.
Oh, big twitch. That was kind of like what we saw with Blake McCandless's incident, just much more aggressive of a snap up the hill. So that was Bowers in that one, so a tough break and another caution flag down there in split number 2. And look at this, 4 wide in the center of 3 and 4, and Blake Reynolds is trying to hang on, but it's like riding a bull right now. He's the one who squeezed up in front of the 2 of Coughlin. It about took the nose off of the 2, and 3 laps later, the 2's now back in front, and it's Reynolds who could barely keep the race car underneath him. That thing is evil right now, and again, that should not surprise anybody that it is a handful for Blake Reynolds because he did not take tires, so he's at about a 20-lap tire disadvantage to all the cars around him. He was your leader. Right now, he's just trying to desperately stay inside of the top 20.
And he's in the eye wall of the hurricane right now. There is any comfortable situation right here in the middle of 3 and 4 wide, and especially all these other drivers that, like Connor mentioned, they're hungry to gain track position. They do not want to stay back here for any longer than maybe 2 or 3 laps. They want to stay up ahead of the competition and make progressive gains little by little. So they're going to be aggressive. We've already seen some bumpers be dealt. Seth Noel gave a bumper to Sean Conklin entering turn 3 while they were nearly 4 wide, and Eddie Kerner is just fighting for his life on the outside of 3 abreast. And even in 14th, 15th place, where you've seen these drivers go at it. I mean, Dave so far been the providing action of the show, but so far, 2nd and 3rd are starting to get really good, with Falkingham being aggressive, needing a good night tonight, and Sebastian Marin, who could possibly shape something up for Matthew Morton in the race lead.
Great racing up front, great racing through the field. We've seen multiple instances, guys, of 4 wide in the back of the pack. I know the next Gen 7, we haven't been here a lot. We certainly haven't seen it in real life. Can you imagine if in July we're seeing the Cup cars multiple times 4 wide at Chicagoland Speedway? I'm getting so excited just thinking about it and watching this race play out as we're seeing great racing for the lead. Seb Marin, the best so far this season in the qualifying series, trying to track down yet another win. But Matthew Morton, he's got the car tonight, guys. It's really special what he's been able to do on the 2 tires and control this race. But again, he's got one of the best coming after him right now.
And now the first driver on 4 is Michael Conti. Second split on the bottom. Going to go back under green flag conditions, but watch that number 5 Chevrolet down low. Not going to get the run off of turn 2 that he needed, but he is maybe the aggressor in this because Conti, Falkingham, Bias, Bolin, that is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They all took the 4 tires. They have a slight advantage over the 2-tire call that came from Morton and Marin on the pit lane. So are they going to get enough of a benefit from the extra 5 seconds it took to put 2 more tires on to be able to get through to the race lead? Or could Morton or Marin, for that matter, can the clean air help out those cars who went with the 2-tire decision and be able to defend it for the lead? And you've got battles, again, going on all throughout the field. You can see the number 10 machine up on the outside of the racetrack. That's Garrett Lowe. He's in a battle with Adam Garza right now. Michael Cozy Jr. climbing his way back to the top 10 after slipping it back into the teens through the pit cycles. So there is stuff going on all over the place, and not afraid to use the apron down there on the bottom. It's an aggressive dive. It's not an easy transition from the banked tri-oval down to that flat, but the apron is so wide that if you're in a battle, you kind of got to go down there, try to get a couple extra feet, and then try to come up and clear somebody, just like you saw happening on that bottom picture as Conti again trying to get all the way clear of Seb Marin, but Marin climbs right back around him by the outside line.
Usually, Evan, when you see 3 different strategies like what we're seeing in the middle of this top split race, you kind of think to yourself, maybe they don't have the same answer or solution to cook and be able to move their way to the front or keep track position. But that seems to have been the same solution for all 3 of the different strategies. Was for this restart, after their decision to take those tires or to stay out, was to just go green. You don't have a lot of those yellow flags come out one after the other. For the 2-tire guys, they're able to make use of the fresh tires that they have and then block with dirty air for track position. On 4 tires, you have enough time to cook like Michael Conti is doing right now and gain track position with all that extra grip. And then you look at drivers like Garrett Lowe, who's still in the top 10. He hasn't pitted all night, but somehow as the race has gone green, he's using the track position, the dirty air, to his advantage as the heat cycle has gone around. The solution was for a green flag run to kick off. It's happened right now, and now all of the drivers are figuring out what they can do best to move forward in the field.
Jumping on board with Thomas Lloyd in the number 28 spot. He's somebody whose night has not gone the direction he's been hoping, down 15 positions from the get-go in this race. There's a couple of drivers down here who have had a rough go at it. Blake Reynolds has lost 22 spots. Talk about Lloyd down 15. Garrett Maines has lost 14. John Hall started top 6. He's down 25 positions in this race. So plenty of drivers down here in the 20s with some work to do. And we're going to be halfway home this time by and now inside of 50 laps to go in this race. Blake Reynolds getting under green flag conditions. We are inside of that 50 to go window, inside of the fuel number to the end of the race. And these drivers, for those who pitted, had to go much longer, guys, but Blake could not. Remember, he did not pit, so he's been out there for 50 laps. He had to come in. That's going to put him off for the race lead, and he really needs this thing to stay under green flag conditions. Well, you're taking a look at the money lap number 5 of Matthew Morton. He has now led 21 laps in this race in Chicago, and somebody who likes to see that is Joshua Mendoza with eRacer. We were talking with them on Countdown the Green. So Joshua, also thanks for hanging out with us and watching this race alongside. I know you have to love seeing the Money Lap name up front. There's plenty of cars, though, that have got that in the field. For those who might have missed it in Countdown, tell us about those logos on the cars and what that means for the championship.
For sure, yeah, we're really enjoying this right now, watching Matthew go up there and just looks like he's just doing what he's been doing this whole time, having a really good time, leading some laps and potentially having a strong finish. But those drivers who have that logo on their car, they are competing for the right of first refusal to our seats come free agency. They're welcome to sign with anybody else, but they know at the end of this whole entire thing that they'll at least have an opportunity and a guarantee offer from us in order to drive in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. We're trying to give everyone a little bit of control. They don't have to worry and stress as much. And one thing I'm thinking about right now actually is Matthew Morton. What's going through his mind? How do you manage this race? Sure, you want to win, but you have a great points gap right now in front of Jaden Hopp and Wyatt Tinsley. And that's another thing I'm paying attention to is Jaden Hopp second split, Wyatt Tinsley first split. Two very close drivers who are tied currently in points for that second seat and that second opportunity. You know, how is that going for them? And how is that going to turn out in the long run? It's just very entertaining to watch, and it's got to be a little bit of a different mindset for those guys who are competing for the Money Lap Qualifier Challenge.
There's a look at Tinsley, who sits in the number 10 position. We've seen the eRacer brand grow through the years. We've seen the Money Lap logo here in the qualifying series, in the championship series. I think most people who are in tune with the community are aware of what you guys do, but maybe for those who aren't, tell us a little bit about, you know, what the Money Lap podcast is and what your involvement is in that, on top of all the other things you do across the service.
Yeah, the Money Lap podcast is some really fun podcasts that Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle host. I get the honor of just producing it and occasionally giving my fan perspective on all things motorsports. We don't just talk NASCAR, we talk IndyCar, Formula One. Pretty much if it goes around a track and it's timed, we're pretty in tune with talking about it. And that's one thing we get to do. We also have eRacer, which in the past has done some pretty big esports events on the iRacing service. And we love cars. We love them going around a track. If it's timed, if there's anything to be competition there, we're excited about it. Oh my goodness, that's a second split disaster.
Yeah, it's the 3 off it in the grass, and I assume, another caution down there in split number 2. So restart shenanigans down there. You mentioned Parker, you mentioned Landon. Obviously, I mean, there's so many different things that professional drivers and broadcasters and kind of all the different hats that they wear can do. But they're super involved with the sim community as a whole. Obviously, that has led to eRacer and their involvement in this series. But just from those guys' perspective, and obviously you work super close with them, why do they find it valuable, and their entire team, yourself included as a whole, why is it valuable to invest in sim racing and be a part of something like this?
It's a great way to connect with the grassroots community of motorsports. I think a lot of people discredit what sim racing can be in motorsports as its position, and we find extreme value in just the sim racing community. The way that we were all able to come together during the COVID-19 pandemic was one thing that just showed the power that sim racing can do when the world needs it to do something. And I think throughout the years, we've continued to see growth. So many amazing opportunities have come for people through sim racing. I think of Blake McCandless, who, while he's not having a great outing in the qualifying series right now, he's had so many amazing opportunities come from just the opportunities that have arisen through sim racing itself. And we continue to want to be a champion for sim racing because it means a lot to us, and we know how much it means to those who compete on the service.
Joshua, we know eRacer is such a community-heavy organization, and it's beloved by many of the iRacing members across the country and the world. And I wanted to go back to the involvement in this series, where it's sort of a giving back moment, right, for this team to develop these drivers, get in hand with them, and give them a proper shot at racing the championship series. How special is it for you and the eRacer group as a whole to be involved in the development of these drivers and helping them in this process of qualifying for the main series?
It's critical for us. We've had the luxury of under different brands being in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for nearly 6 or 7 years now. Parker originally got to sign up and participate as Burton Kligerman Esports, then Kligerman Sport, and now eRacer today. But we have nonstop been there from the beginning, and I think the opportunity for us to do something different, to give the competitors who originally had guaranteed seats an opportunity for that one more time, or perhaps if this goes well again next year, it's a really cool opportunity. And we understand the countless hours that these drivers put into trying to make the biggest oval sim racing series in the world, and we want to value that and give them some more control that isn't necessarily how well you can negotiate at a table in a 3-day period, but rather show me what you're worth, put your name on the line, and go up there and perform. I don't care how you carry yourself on a negotiating table. I want you to carry yourself on the track, and giving that control back to the drivers is something that we value immensely.
The potential you have for your team when we get to the championship series is high. How have you seen that talent level grow in the last few years, and what you could potentially have come May?
It's grown immensely. I mean, it's nonstop. So many people are trying to make this series, and this year, especially with the format changes, has allowed so many people to have their names out there and put on the public eye. And with this broadcast showing more than just the top split, being able to introduce people that we may not necessarily have known previously and get our eyes on them is great. And I hope that other teams are taking this opportunity to watch for free agency in order to see maybe who they would want to have signed. I think it continues to grow, Alan, and I hope that this isn't the peak, and I hope that there's continued interest from the sim racing community with the season, and giving everybody an opportunity to make a name for themselves. It's quite awesome as a team owner to see how things have changed just from the last couple of years alone, to allow a larger stage and a larger opportunity for us to be able to pull from.
Well, we love the passion that everybody with Money Lap and eRacer have for this, Joshua. So we appreciate that insight. Thank you for your time. And I guess I was going to say best of luck when it comes to the negotiating table, but I guess sit back and enjoy and watch because they're all fighting for the right to drive for you guys. So appreciate you guys being a part of this, and I'm sure we'll see you plenty when we go to the championship series.
Sounds good. Thanks, Evan.
And I think that timed out well, because the entire time we were chatting with him, we were just watching the Money Lap car up front. It's still been Matthew Morton, but we have finally hit a pit cycle with the drivers, Pit Road, and Sebastian Barron in this time. Falkingham, Frisch, Smith, Rondoletto, and more. The bank is open at 32 laps to go.
We saw a couple of other drivers, Evan, also hit pit road. We mentioned Blake Reynolds, but Eddie Kerner had also short pit. He had been so far in track position, he decided he needed to come down pit road a lot earlier. Here comes Matthew Morton coming down pit road. He's going to be joined by Ray Alfala and a few others. And that's going to be this big shift with 31 laps to go, is where you want this fresh tire sequence to come at you. Ray Alfalo just overshot his pit box by just a little bit, but where you see all the drivers come in and how important fresh tires are going to be in comparison to the track position. If you want to be outside with all of the air in your favor, or whether you want to have the freshest tires of the bunch, here comes Conti. Right behind him is going to be Michael Cozy Jr. on pit road. Really difficult entry, Evan, when you've got such a difficult to drive Chicagoland track with all those bumps in the middle of 3 and 4. Conti's down and Graham Boland to the lead.
And Alan, real quick, I just want to say Michael Conti leads a lap in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Not a sentence I had on my bingo card for the start of the year, but he led as he came down.
Unbelievable. And we saw him for that whole stint really competing for the lead. It's like Jordan brushing off his 11s and just hopping into Madison Square Garden again and seeing if he can get the checkered flag. We'll see if that one lap makes a difference. Remember, there was a one lap difference here in the strategy about when they pit. Now Boland is coming in. We'll have to see how this all cycles out.
Yeah, black flag, I think, for Graham Boland. I'm seeing a black flag for the number 48 car. So maybe too fast entering pit road, but that's going to be a big blow for one of the drivers who had been having a decent night. He's going to have an extended stay in the box. Noel Tinsley, Mercurio Garza also down pit road. Now Cody Bias comes in from the race lead, and that will hand the number 1 position off for the moment to Andrew Navarro.
Yeah, it's a tough break. I mean, we saw those 2 cars coming in, and plenty of other drivers, when you're maximizing that slowdown rate to get to pit road speed limit, I mean, you're towing a thin line, you're really on the edge, and it can get very out of control very quickly. Battle for the net race lead, though. Again, we mentioned overcut versus undercut, and the overcut by 1 lap has worked in favor of Michael Conti. Got around Matthew Morton on the back stretch, moved inside from turn 3, and Michael Conti is going to have the net race lead as right in the middle, things are getting sketchy. Garrett Lowe trying to fight through the middle.
Might be scary hours here in Chicagoland. You got drivers on fresh tires ripping around, but still waiting on about 13 or so to come down and pit. So the closing rate drastically increased. You're going to have the drivers who have the higher positions, not really normally in a spot where they'd have to yield to lap down cars, but those are going to be the faster drivers. And it is one of the most treacherous parts of a green flag cycle, is getting through it when it is not nicely and condensed into 2 or 3 laps. If everybody comes down and they're all within 2-3 laps of each other, you don't really get this. But again, these drivers, by nature of the early yellows, can go as many as 20 more laps. I think I saw Lowe maybe get to 58, 59 laps. Granted, there were yellows in there, so, Justin Campbell, Andrew Navarro, Peyton Howell, 41 laps since they pitted. They can't go to the end. They don't have 25 more laps in there, but if they want to force the issue, and we've seen that at other points this year, Alan, drivers stay out, try to catch a yellow, and back on cycle. It's worked before. These drivers do have plenty of runway in front of them still if they want to play that game, just by nature of how the yellows in the race early set us up for this moment.
Some of these drivers have nothing to lose and a lot to gain in terms of points by doing this strategy, right? You go long enough and you get that yellow that you're hoping for. It puts everyone back on the same cycle. Suddenly you've given yourself all this track position and maybe some points, and heck, maybe a shot at the win once again. If it plays out, because of how these cautions have fallen, we still have, as you said, another 18, 20 laps before we know if anyone will commit to that strategy. As down in the second split, they get going green once again, and what's also been quite an eventful race down there.
The split 2 started much calmer than the top split, but I think the equilibrium is balanced out between top split and split number 2, and we have both had our fair share of chaos and cautions and restarts and strategy that have mixed things up in both split number 1 and in split number 2. Again, for your top split drivers, the top 13 cars still need to come to pit road. I'm going to say pretty confidently, cannot go the distance with what they have. Michael Conti in 14th would be your net race leader in split number 1, leading Michael Cozy Jr., who is 2nd in that net out, and then Matthew Morton, who would be 3rd in that net out. But it has allowed Justin Campbell, started this race 29th position, down there in traffic, the opportunity to be out here. Sean Conklin, you see the purple indicator on your scoring to pylon. He is going to pit road. 56 laps was the number for him. that would mean that Campbell, Howell, Scott, these top runners you're looking at, could get maybe 12 laps more out, but it still puts them a dozen short for being able to go the distance. So they are, I think, putting the chips on the table, hoping to catch a yellow and be able to pit under the caution, get back on cycle if everybody else would also take tires.
You also have that possibility where you can clutch and coast just a little bit, especially here in the middle of traffic, right? There's a lot of that situation where you've got traffic around you. Some of them are on fresher tires. But in positions like this where track position is equalized out no matter what kind of tire set you are on, fresh or older, 2 tires or 4, if you're in the position of Justin Campbell, Peyton Howell, Kwame Scott, you have that opportunity to just clutch and coast a little bit while carrying that tow from the cars right in front of you and listening on board with drivers like Peyton Howell. They are saving. They are trying to extend this run physically as long as they can. Again, trying to swing the points in their direction for drivers like Navarro and Warman, just literally an attempt to right the ship in a race that has gone wrong for them so far.
Justin Campbell, just a great story. Former real-life racer, now making his way on the mechanical side of things. Been on the service for about 7 years, finding his way toward the top of this race right now. You never know the strategy. This is a call. We were saying drivers who have nothing to lose and a lot to gain by putting a strategy like this. If they can just get that caution, maybe it cycles through for them. But seeing Justin at the front, a good story here.
And Kenneth mentioned maybe clutching and coasting, trying to do a little bit of saving. It feels like maybe Campbell doing a little bit more of that than what we've seen out of Kwame Scott, because Kwame's been the better car to the tune of 1 to 2 tenths of a second per lap the last few times around. He was able to get around Howell, then able to get into the number 2 spot, and that's the battle for the race lead amidst the larger conversation about pit strategies and gambling on trying to catch a yellow. It is still a battle for the lead between Justin Campbell and Kwame Scott, 2 cars who likely do not have the fuel to go the distance in this race and are both trying to catch the benefit of maybe a well-timed yellow to flip the script. We are inside of the final 20 laps to go in this one. And that last lap, Scott backed the pace back off, more in line with what we've seen out of Justin Campbell. So maybe picking and choosing when they want to push, when they want to conserve. But again, I think we're coming into 7 laps or so is probably the most they can do before they will be forced to come down to the pit lane. And again, just don't forget the battle for the net lead right now. Conti, the advantage in 12th. Let's take a look at second split. They are 4 wide. In the center returns number 1 and 2. Did it work out this time as they came off the corner? Well, at least they got off at 2, but I think it was that curved back stretch, Kenneth, that got them. I mean, even on tracks where the back straightaway is a straight line, you see some accidents like that. They survived the corner, and then a little bit of that lateral movement looks like it led to that one.
We see some of those judgment calls happen on normal straightaways where you think you're clear, you move down, and then you're actually not clear, and you make contact with the car behind you. When you're turning, that alters the dimensions from the perspective of the race car in the mirror. So, yeah, not surprising to see that little bit of contact could create a spin like that. And when you have those restarts right after another, the saying comes true every single time, guys. Cautions breed cautions. The drivers get more aggressive later in the race, and that's just a phenomenon you get to see there.
Christopher Pfeffer, somebody else who's a part of this strategy call, trying to catch a yellow, started this race back in 35th position. So he's 29 spots up. Problem is, if the strategy doesn't work, he'll probably find himself back there near the 30s. It is an all-in move, but we're at that point in the season. Drivers need something big. They got to make a statement. You can't just take a high 20 spot at this point in the year, and I think a lot of these drivers are aware of where they sit in the points. They may need essentially a win to make it even mathematically possible. Some of them may be at the point where they just are not in a mathematically feasible position and would just like to go out here and win a race, make some noise, get talked about, and then prep for maybe another run at this qualifying series. Would we do it all over again next season in 2027? There's the last pit stop lap on the left of your screen. Again, Conti pitted at lap 71. He still is the net leader in battle for the number 12 spot. That's what you watch on the bottom of your screen now. Michael Cozy Jr. has not really been up in a battle for the lead yet tonight, Kenneth, but he's played the middle portion well, and through the pit cycle now finds himself as the challenger in the battle with the 5.
And sometimes it's not necessarily being the fastest car on the racetrack in any given run. It's being good enough to make progression over the course of the race, like Michael Cozy Jr. has through the night, and then just find that sweet spot in the pit stop sequence where you can have fresh enough tires to come out in the right place and still have enough gaining ground to be able to make up positions and then put yourself in that situation that Cozy is in right now, where it would be net race lead, just given the entire situation that's going on with all of those drivers at the front that are saving as much fuel as possible. Their second split going at it for another restart. Once again, it's 3, nearly 4 wide in the middle of the pack, everyone being aggressive. Now we'll see if they survive this time.
I love what's playing out in top split right now as we look at Conti and Cozy. Potentially could be the race for the win right here, but the race right now in first and second, 2 drivers that desperately want to save fuel, but also obviously be in first place, right? Big wreck down in second split as chaos reigns down there. We'll get a replay of what's going on. Michael Cozy looking for what could potentially be a race-winning pass right here. If all goes their way, we have to see what's going to happen in front of this field with only 10 laps to go, though.
And again, these drivers pitted some 20 laps ago, so if we did get another yellow, they would likely be back down pit road for more tires, or at least a split decision, right? We went 20 laps at the start of the race before the first yellow, and at that point we saw drivers stay out, take 2, take 4. So now that we're about 20 laps removed from the pit cycle, that's exactly what Campbell, Scott, and Howell want. They need to have gotten this deep into the run so that if we get a yellow, the cars who are behind them and good on fuel to the end consider tires. So that's what they've wanted. They've gotten to this point, but 58 laps since the last time those 2 drivers in the battle for the race lead on the top of your screen pitted. How much further can you go from that 58 number? I think that's the highest we have seen at any point in this race. And again, there's some yellows in there to save some fuel, but they're basically at maximum fuel saving. So the battle for the lead amongst the strategy players on the top, and the net battle for the cars that are good to the end on the bottom, as Conti basically letting Cozy go to the inside, and that 5 is just enjoying winding it up on the top side. You're seeing a very different battle up here where it is defensive driving from race leader Campbell. Scott down to the inside. That's now 7 laps to go.
And at this point, go ahead,
you
Alan.
want the lead, Kenneth, you want the lead, but you don't want to push too hard to compete for it right now. What do you do as a driver? What do you do in this situation?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been looking at the top 5. They're not saving. I had it in me that they were going to save a bit, and they were for a slight moment, and then they turned up the notch to like 11 to 15. They have been on a tear right now. Kwame Scott knows with the way his season has gone, the way Phoenix went in a race that could have been a win, got thrown away from him, he wants nothing more than to be that top dog, and it's going to be aggressive moves like that. They're throwing the kitchen sink, Alan. It's right now or never with 5 to go left.
Alan, do we dare ask, could they possibly have the number to get to the end? We're now closing in on 5. I haven't seen anything over 59 laps, but they're pushing 61 now.
Yeah, they're trying to make it to 66. You don't want to win the race to run out of gas first either, right? So it's just this mental equation you're having to do in your head where you want to be in the lead, but you also don't want to win the race to run out of gas first. You want to win the race overall. Just 5 laps to go, and they're pushing it like they can make it.
And if they do run out of gas, Kenneth, change for the net lead. Cozy around Conti in that battle for P12.
Yeah, Cozy's going to be in a good position right now. Not that Conti is without a doubt, going to be away from it all. He's still a couple of tenths through. But back to that thing about Kwame Scott, I mean, I think about it. You have the chance of running out of fuel. But the thing is, if you tell yourself, I'm going to make this pass, you limit the amount of time you do, the more you stay behind that car, and the harder it's going to get on a longer run to get around them. So I think Kwame Scott just thinks to himself, if I don't make this pass now, I am never going to make this pass. I'm not going to be able to cut through the dirty air and get around this car on much older tires than I had a few laps earlier. So Scott took the gamble, and now look at the gap he enjoys. Nearly a full second coming to 3 laps to go.
Justin Campbell just said over the radio in sim, he's staying low. He is trying to save fuel. His pace has dropped off significantly compared to what we're seeing from Kwame Scott, who has 3 laps to go. There it is, completely shutting the car off on the inside. Kwame Scott is pulling away. Can he do it in the 36 machine?
This would be unbelievable If Kwame Scott can get this done, he is in no sign saving fuel. He is pushing it. And to also couple this, they're in fourth gear, top of it, entering the straightaway and entering turn one at about 195 miles an hour. That is maximum revs, and maximum revs means you are burning the most fuel. I think Scott's either pushing it to the end or he knows something that we don't.
On board with Kwame Scott, let's listen as he heads to turn 3. Underpowered.
That's near hitting the chip.
Yeah, that's showing confidence, and he's coming to the white flag this time by.
He's got a 2-second lead. Why is he going so hard?
Trying to hit number 66 for what would be by far the longest fuel run that anybody has done in this race. Kwame Scott started back in the 20s, found himself way back in the field when he made the final pit stop. He was running back in what was 29th position, but he's going to come off of turn number 4 and see the checkered flag first. Fuel-saving wizardry for Kwame Scott and a victory here in Chicago.
Crack the back. Crack the back.
I had zero faith that entire conglomerate could do it. And we saw, 15 or 16 cars stay out, and then one dropped off and 2 dropped off, all on the same number, by the way, that Scott and Campbell and Howell and Navarro all pitted on. And in the end, net leader, as we were calling him, Michael Cozy Jr., he doesn't even get a top 10 finish in this race. The celebration belongs to Kwame Scott in the 36 machine. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. What a statement victory for Kwame Scott, who played the strategy better than anybody else tonight.
And Kwame told us preseason he still has a lot more to prove as a Coke Series driver. Look at our Coca-Cola move of the race. I mean, this is it. With under 10 laps to go, Alan and I having an internal debate about whether this was the right move, and it definitely was, pushing the issue even on that limit of fuel that they were carrying entering the white flag lap. Kwame knew if he didn't make this pass, he was not going to get to the win, so he does it. Makes the move on the apron, on the front stretch, nails it, turn 1, takes the deep dive, goes underneath Campbell, and clean air is all that's going to help Kwame Scott sail to his first win of the season.
He pitted at the end of lap number 34, crossing over to 35, and he wins the race. What a job by Kwame Scott. I know it doesn't work out in the end for Campbell, but really shout out to all of those drivers inside of the top 10. We'll take a look at those full results in a little bit. However, let's drop over to split number 2, where due to their late and mid-race chaos and the cautions and restarts that we've been keeping an eye on, we'll be able to watch the final 15 or so laps in this race by the time it goes back under green flag conditions. Let's bring our driver analyst, Connor Urashak, back in. Connor, I don't know, were you thinking we were silly doubting the fuel strategy that whole way? What's your reaction to how that shook out?
I mean, that was one of the weirder races I've seen. I mean, I thought for sure that Kwame must have just saved a ton there at the start of the run and just did an amazing job there with the fuel. But I was also incredibly surprised with the guys that came down pit road. I mean, their tires evened out with those leaders right away. Like Cozy, I don't even think got back to the top 10. And I think you just saw a yellow here in split 2 where most guys elected to stay out. So I'm really surprised that tires don't mean as much as I thought they would.
So we get to see a thrilling result in top split, and now we look to see what is to be decided here in split number 2. We talk about this format. Obviously, Connor, you can score big points if you're in the top 4 or 5 splits, but there's more points available, obviously, based on the higher split that you're in. So if you're in a second split like this, you've done other series, with the snake split format, including the first step on the old ladder to qualify into the championship series. For the guys down here in split number 2, how do they reckon with the fact that obviously if you race in split number 2 weekly, you can still make it to free agency. You can be the top 30. But while a top 10 in top split might be enough, top 10 in split 2 is probably not, right? You kind of have to look further up the board. So what kind of pressure does that, and does that affect maybe how these guys in split number 2 race at all?
Yeah, split two gives pretty good points. So these guys that have been up here all year are doing really well in the points. But I've always, especially with the new format and getting selected, winning solves a lot of problems. Anytime you can win and get your name out there, it's a big plus for me. I remember my contender year in the first year of free agency, me winning that Dover race was a big factor in me getting picked. So I mean, if you have any shot to win the race, you got to do all you can to get it done.
They're going to go back under green flag conditions here. 14 laps to go as Dylan Basin going to try to hold off the likes of Joe Armstrong, Jake Nichols, Nate Stewart, Mitchell Hunt. There's a bunch of drivers up there that have some familiar names that have competed in the championship series before. And, oh yeah, we mentioned he was a leader at some point earlier in the race, but Carson Hocevar lined up at number 5. Keep an eye on the number 12 machine for this one. Green flag in the air, 14 laps to go. Armstrong with a quick decision to get in line on the bottom. It's going to be pretty calm for the top 4 or 5. Behind them, there is your Chicagoland 3-wide restart KB we're used to seeing.
And you saw everyone duck to that white line at the very bottom of the racetrack, although I was expecting to see much more drivers at the top. You get such a good run off of the top of the banking there off turn 2, entering the backstretch, that you can make a sling move from the outside on another driver. You're seeing that more in the mid-pack, but everyone being aggressive as always here now that there's 15 laps to go. And Joe Armstrong has been in this situation before. Even remember late race heroics that he pulled off at Las Vegas for the win. Now he's going to try and use that on Dylan Basin to catch up for the top spot, and a slow car in the back. That's Jaden Hopp.
It was Jaden Hopp. Yeah, the 14 machine got loose, and he's going to lose about a half a dozen spots before we get down to turn number 3. Big moment. Did a good job to catch that race car. But Alan, he worked so hard for 87 laps, and then one moment there could take away dozens and dozens of laps of progress.
These restarts, jumbling everybody back up, can make or break someone's race, and we're seeing it here. You know, back in the field, it only gets tougher the further you go back with these drivers, with these cars, the pack, and how they were able to race, especially if it hadn't been on pit road in too long. And it's just a dogfight back here in any of these splits, in any of these races. The further you get back, the tougher it is. The front few cars, they are checking out a little bit. Dylan Basin has a good run, but back here, the fight is still on.
Yeah, this battle that you're looking at, Noah Bitts in the middle, 3 wide with the number 5 machine. You got Blake Neer as well in the mix. That's the number 25 just behind. In a battle with John Seminario for 13th and 14th. So all of this going on outside of the top 10. Everybody else in front has single filed out for the moment. Basin's lead growing. It's not comfortable, but I think he'll take what is 0.5 of a second this few laps removed from the restart. And now you have to wonder if any of these battles, you see some paint trade in there as they come off of turn number 2, is going to make the leader nervous. This battle here that you're watching, some of the best stuff on the racetrack right now, looks like Moose is clear of it all, and it's going to be Bitts and Avila leading the charge in 11th and 12th.
It becomes scary, Evan, for the leader when you know the race has been long green flag runs, and you anticipate that with how clean it's been in the prior laps, that it's going to be clean the rest of the way. I think Basin is already comfortable knowing there possibly is another yellow on the card, and maybe an attempt at overtime or more, because of the way this race has turned into such a slugfest of drivers getting into crashes and the stop-and-go nature of the race. I think everybody in the top 5 understands, yeah, there may be one more caution left, and they are ready for it just in case it happens. Nate Stewart, Jake Nichols, great battle for 3rd, and Boyd Hogan and Jeremy Davis, or Garrison Hogan and Jeremy Davis 5th and 6th right now. And what a drive for Nate Stewart. Past several weeks, he's had good runs and climbed out from a top 30 deficit to now cleanly inside the top 20. What a drive it's been. And Nate Stewart in a car that he likes, the NASCAR Next Gen car, performing well here at top 3.
You know, it's interesting when we look at the top 3, top 5, some of these names, Dylan Basin, Armstrong, Nate, Jake Nichols, maybe they've been in the top split sometime throughout these first few races. And then we looked at top split today, and the Michael Conti's of the world, Hayden Honeycutt. If they're there, some of these drivers aren't, right? They have to go to the second split. But getting a victory in that in the second split, you know, I know how the points are they differ, what have you, but being able to get that victory, you have to take advantage no matter where you are, and some of these drivers are doing it tonight, especially if Basin can pull off the win.
Dylan Basin, somebody else who's going to be competing in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. You can find that tomorrow night right here on the iRacing channels. It's a 7 o'clock Eastern time start for week number 1 of what is the final tournament of that season. Looking at this race, obviously he's out in front and has had a good car all night. Very different night than Joe Armstrong, who did not qualify, started in the number 32 spot on the grid, and it finds himself in second. Here's another car who did not qualify. Hocevar didn't put down a time in Q. He started way back in 29th position. He's been able to drive his way up, so much like we saw in split number 1. The cautions, the pit stops, the strategy has given a lot of drivers opportunities from deep in the pack to get up here and contend. And inside now, what is 5 laps to go? Connor, we'll bring you back in one final time. We appreciate all of your insights on the night. Anything in particular you're looking forward to as we go through tonight and into the final 2 rounds of this qualifying series before we give you the option of, potentially 30 new drivers you'll be racing against?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a good little race here, and I'm looking forward to watching the next 2. I mean, those tracks are playoff tracks in the championship series, so all the top 20 guys, they're already locked in. I'm sure they're going to be hard at work learning all they can for those races to come. So there's lots to learn. There's lots to watch. I mean, it's nice to have a little break, but I'm ready to get back into the groove of things.
Well, the good news is week number 1, May 19th, not that far away. Connor, again, appreciate your insights and best of luck headed into the championship series. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about you as the season goes on.
Have a great night, guys. I appreciate it.
It's your driver analyst for the night and a championship series driver with Letarte Esports, Connor Yurashak, back in the championship series here in 2026. And Kenneth, he's got the tracks in mind. I mentioned it off at the top. After tonight, we head to Michigan. We head to Texas. Those are 2 of the playoff races for the championship series later this year. So a lot of molding storylines as we close out this qualifying series. And that was a big hit to the outside wall. The 12 machine took a good lick.
Yeah, Cardenas is going to be in a move here. Patrick Moose on the outside, and right behind Garrison Hogan attempting a move. But yeah, those 2 tracks being the first 2 rounds of the playoffs in the championship series, that's going to be important. And there is the yellow. Remember when I said Basin and company were probably expecting an overtime? Well, there it is here at Chicagoland. So we'll do at least one more restart before this race is all said and done. But that's why this Cup car portion is so important. It gives the championship series drivers a preview of what they should expect the performance of the top 30 to look like come the main series in May. And for these qualifying drivers, a chance to get acclimated to this car before free agency begins.
It was Mitchell Hunt and Colby Cooper where the incident happens in a battle for 16th and 17th position. And a lot of driver discussion on the radio because this race is going into eNASCAR overtime. Drivers are asking one another to take a look at their cars to kind of assess any damage on them that has occurred. And one driver just did an open survey over the radio asking if anybody's pitting. So that's one way to try to find out your competitor's strategy. Alan, just crowdsource it. See if they tell you.
Yeah, I've never heard that quite on the radio at a Cup race when covering those on Sundays, but you never know. I mean, the worst thing they can do is not answer you, I suppose. But, we do get a pit from second spot.
Oh, thought about it.
Oh.
Joe Armstrong with the fake out. Does anybody dare come in? Carson Hocevar is the first driver in, and so far the only driver in. He'll be the only guy from the top 20 to pit. Next pitter, Joseph Galata, 22nd. Down to the pit lane. So Hocevar off cycle with everybody else in the lead is going to come down, but top 20 plus drivers stay out.
There's no commitment cone, is there, for Joe Armstrong? Because it was close if there is one.
he put it all the way down there, but I don't see the black flag on timing and scoring, so that cone has survived.
All right, and while we wait, let's talk to our top split winner, Kwame. What a run. I was a doubter, let me tell you. I didn't know if you could do it. 66 laps until the end. How did you know, and when did you know you could make it on fuel to get that victory?
Oh, I have it muted. Hello?
Oh, Kwame, you got me? We hear you now.
I got you. Yeah, no, I had to unmute it. Sorry about that.
All good. Hey, when did you know you could make it 66 laps to the end? Because I was doubting, man.
I mean, I was doubting too, but I was clutching literally from the start of that run just to make sure we even when I was to the good, like I was still clutching, and like my spotter Terrell Baker, you were telling me, and I was like, you're good, just go. And I finally just went, and and we kept the tires on it too, and it just played right in our favor. I can't believe I was really scared that a caution was going to come out there and ruin that for us, but that was exactly what I wanted.
You did everything you needed to do, including making the pass for the win. I was just wondering what was going through your mind, because you don't want to run yourself out of gas by pushing it too hard, but you did have to eventually be in the lead. How did you know when to make that move?
Well, I just, like I said, I wanted to make sure I was good, and I was clutching from lap 1 of that run. But I was I was also trying to keep my tires on it. So the minute like all of my teammates, I think it was like probably like 15 to go. My teammate and my spotter was like, "Yeah, no, you got enough fuel to push and pass Justin there." And so I just tried to run top, get the runs going, and when I finally got the run, I just threw it in there and hope it stuck, and it stuck, and it was smooth sailing after that, luckily.
It was smooth sailing. We're going to watch the restart here down in the second split, and you can stay with us while we do it. But congrats on the victory. And I know it's been an up and down the first 7-8 races of this. What is it like to just know you have that victory and you're one step closer to getting back in the championship series, Kwame?
Yeah, man. I was waiting. I was really excited to get the next gen segment going, with these last 3 races. I think especially with Texas being the final race, I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, and grabbing this win just helps me so much. I haven't checked the points yet, but it's going to help me a lot. It's definitely going to take the edge off a little bit. So all we got to do is just have some consistent finishes from here on out, and hopefully we squeeze right in. It's, for some reason, I'm not trying to do this on purpose. Every year I'm in a tight points battle, and it's stressful, super stressful, and it's not, my plan at all. But here we are again, and it's gonna have to do it again. So.
Well, good stuff. Good. Congratulations. The best way to take the stress off is to get that victory tonight. Kwame Scott, top split winner tonight. And guys, we may have doubted, we may have wondered, but it sounds like he knew the whole time. Mr. Smooth. That was pretty great from Kwame.
Got me too. Impressive call by him and in all the top 10 drivers who were able to make that strategy work. Another reminder, as always, that NASCAR 25 is available now. It's NASCAR's official video game featuring all new in-depth career mode that features Dale Jr. and Dirty Mo Media. We talk about the challenge of this qualifying series where you race through the trucks in O'Reilly and Cup. You do the same in NASCAR 25. You can start in the ARCA cars and race your way through all 4 of NASCAR's touring series. It's available now on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. You can learn more at NASCAR25.com. And if you're having fun watching this and want an accessible way to get behind the wheel, NASCAR 25 is a fantastic way to do so, especially as we get later into the NASCAR season. You can race alongside. You can do, your own lobbies with 40-player online multiplayer, challenge others online. So really fun game. And again, it's available on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. It's not just that, Kenneth. iRacing Arcade also available now, or as I think we've unofficially called it, cute iRacing.
Yeah, it's bite-sized iRacing. It's iRacing on a bit of a smaller level, but it's still a boatload of fun. It packs a punch, really. You can check it out today on Steam. It has a third-person arcade-style racing style, but you've got a lot of the real-world circuits and real-world cars in there as well. You've got Imola, Mexico City, Barber Motorsports Park, Miami International Autodrome, my home track out in Hard Rock Stadium. Having that track on iRacing Arcade, super fun. And you can also rise from rags to riches. Extensive career mode. You can build a motorsports campus with garages, engines, chassis changes, R&D buildings. You can do it all on iRacing Arcade.
Miami's hard on iRacing Arcade.
It's a fun track, though.
I cannot figure that track out. You put me on Lime Rock or some of the other ones. Imola's a blast. But if you want to beat me, let me know, and we'll race at the Miami Autodrome, because that is a tough track. I cannot figure it out.
All right, I got you. I can do a real-life track walk. I can send you a video.
We need to get, I think, the Countdown to Green crew to do like a live iRacing Arcade lobby for a segment at some point this year during the qualifying series, during the championship series. I volunteer the Countdown crew, Alan, so that I do not have to embarrass myself on the stream. Very clear about that idea.
I will take one for the team and embarrass myself. Don't worry.
Will that be an easy Ryan Vargas win then?
That's true. Get Vargas in on it. Listen, we need to make it happen. We've got a couple of weeks left, so we'll let the powers that be make some magic. Maybe we'll have a countdown tournament on iRacing Arcade. Well, we're still far from done. 5 splits still underway, including eNASCAR overtime attempt number 2 in second split. Green flag back in the air. Dylan Basin leads the run down to turn number 1. It's Stewart and Armstrong in a battle for second behind him.
And what we haven't talked much about, Evan, is wheel spin. This track is so abrasive and it's so hot. You can spin the rear tires through first and second gear. Nate Stewart, not a good run off turn 2. Inside goes Davis, and Dylan Basin, like he did on the last restart, pulling away to the white flag.
Enjoying a growing gap. Do they make it to the white flag for it to be official? Yes, they do. None of the drivers who decided to come down and get tires, led by Hocevar in 18th, have been able to make any sort of headway. And Dylan Basin just needs an acceptable turns 3 to 4 and trying to milk that 5-car length advantage through the final quarter. Dylan Basin started up front. He's going to finish up front as well. Split number 2 race winner in the Windy City. Not a bad night at all, guys, for a driver who last week competed in split number 1. But we mentioned new faces here tonight in split 1, might have booted some drivers to split 2. That happened to Dylan Basin. And instead of that being a negative point for a guy who's top 10 in points, just go out there and win the race. That's what Connor Urashak said. You win it, that solves all your problems.
Max points for him tonight. Good stuff for the young man.
Well, this winning moment brought to you as well by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Basin came into tonight number 9 in the point standings, and a split 2 win should set him up nicely to be able to, I'm not going to say sleep peacefully at night, because you never know. You got to run the races. But starting to talk about clinch scenarios as we head in to the second to last week of the season in 1 week's time. Great job out of the driver of the 7. Well, let's take a look at tonight's full race results. We'll start with your top 10 drivers from split number 2. So Dylan Basin ends up victorious in this one after he is able to lead some 73 laps. Joe Armstrong comes home in second. He's your biggest mover of the night, up 30 from the jump, with Jeremy Davis, Nate Stewart, and Jake Nichols in the top 5. Dylan Cardenas, one of the drivers who didn't queue, he ends up P6, a big pickup for him. Garrison Hogan is 7th. Ryan Doucette, your pole sitter, ends up in a number 8 spot. Patrick Moose is 9th, and then Noah Bitts rounds out your top 10 finishers.
Behind them, Blake Neer, 11th, Johnny Avila in 12th, Lucas Cram, Johan Seminario, and Jalen Hankamp round out the top 15. Daniel Nanny back in 16th. Carson Hocevar was one of those first drivers in the top 10 to come down pit road in that one attempt of overtime. He results 17th, Kate McClenny 18th, Logan Helton in 19th, and Dallas Pataska to the top 20.
Continuing on through, Jordan Worth ends up 21st in this one, with Colby Cooper in 22nd. That was the name that was involved in one of the late accidents. Connor Shaw and Sean Anderson, Joseph Galata, your top 25. Jaden Hopsnight fell apart late, and he ends up in the number 26 spot as the final car on the lead lap. Now, all of these drivers, multiple laps down and out of it. It includes Hunt, Olsen, and Tucker, 5 laps down. Phillip, Gray, Davis, Levine, Bolton, Bowers, and Gossett, all going to get the DNF on their race results tonight from Chicago. And as we wrap up your Coca-Cola full race results for split number 2, KB, let's talk with your Split 2 winner, Dylan Basin, standing by.
Here in Dillon Basin. Dylan, the second time I get to talk to you this season after your first 1.5 mile win at Homestead at Miami. Good to talk to you again here at Chicagoland. What did you need there on that last and only overtime attempt to handle business, stand on it, and win the race tonight?
I just had to pray that they didn't time the restart. I mean, I had to do the restart about 6 times in the lead, and I was getting afraid eventually they'd time it super well. So I was just hoping that I can grab the gear good, get off going, and just get like a 2 or 3/10 lead just before I even got into turn 1. And luckily, that's what I did. So towards the end right there, I just kept my foot in the gas as hard as I could, hoping you wouldn't get to me because Joe was pretty quick.
You've had an ascension in the points through this season, the win at Homestead, you joined Top Split in the last few races of the O'Reilly Auto Parts segment, and now you win this first event of the Next Gen portion. There's no lock-in scenario right now, but how safe does this make you feel to stay in the top 30 for the final 2?
I mean, it certainly takes a load off, you know. Granted, the next 2 races, I'm not going to be out there like, oh, I only need to finish 20th and both to make it, because I still want to win. These Coke teams, I can make it, but I want to show that I have the potential to win in any car. So I want to try to sweep all these races, we're going to do the best we can. But, if we do get an unfortunate incident and don't finish in a place that we want to, we have a buffer, which is really what I'm aiming for right now.
Dylan, you were the first ever College Series tournament winner. Sunset Splash at Homestead in Miami is tomorrow night, the final tournament of the season. What do you make of what's going to happen tomorrow and the following week for the finale?
Well, I mean, we'll see how the racing is. I would say it's even more chaotic than the Rotor Pro because the races are shorter. So it's the short form race. People are going to be pretty aggressive, especially at a track like Homestead where all the lanes are ripping. But, winning there in Rotor Pro at the same time gives me some confidence that we can have a good finish there.
All right, Dylan. Well, great result here, win in Chicagoland. We appreciate the time. Congratulations on the dub. We'll see you in Michigan.
Well, big thanks to Dylan for his time post-race as your Split 2 winner. Now let's take a look at your Coca-Cola race results for Split number 1. We talked to Kwame Scott, the race winner, but all 10 drivers on this list able to make the fuel call work. Justin Campbell led 19 laps earlier. He ends up in the number 2 spot. Again, it was Kwame Scott who overtook him with 7 laps to go in the race to drop the 29 down to second. Christopher Pfeffer, Peyton Howell, didn't talk much about them till late. They're third and fourth. And Andrew Navarro ends up in the number 5 spot. Thomas Lloyd is 6th. Quinton Warman in 7th. Matt Busso with a great night in 8th. John Hall 9th. And Garrett Maines was wrecked with a damaged nose and in 30-something. 5 laps into the thing, he's a top 10 car also.
And look at 11th, 12th, and 13th, the drivers we thought that were going to be in contention to win the race on the strategy before it all flipped on its head. Michael Cozy Jr., Michael Conti, Matthew Morton, not even a top 10 for them, but they get a top 15. Kevin Champagne, Cody Bias wrapping up the 15 drivers in the front group. Seth Noel back in 16th. Daniel Falkingham, 17th. Caden Honeycutt from dead last to 18th. A gain of 18 positions from start to finish. Brian Mercurio, 19th, and Garrett Lowe in the top 20.
Wyatt Tinsley, a race winner on the year, started inside of the top 10, but the way things cycle out, he ends up at the number 21 spot. Adam Garza's 22nd, with Jacob Wilkerson, Michael Frisch, and Ray Alfala inside of the top 25. You look down to the drivers who do not finish on the lead lap. Conklin, Brady, Marin, Bolin, and Boyd. Big turnaround for Seb Marin on how his year's gone. Maybe the second big misstep we've seen from him all year long, but only one driver with a DNF. You compare that to Split 2 that had nearly a dozen, so there was chaos in Split 1, but it was not race-ending chaos for many. And now we get to the penultimate round next week, Tuesday, April 21st at iRacing's virtual Michigan International Speedway. We were racing at the sister track not that long ago on the 2-mile D-shaped oval in Fontana with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, Alan. Now the Cup cars go to Michigan. And again, we've said it all night, but this is a playoff race in the championship series. So even for the champ drivers not in this qualifying series, I think all eyes are going to be on MIS.
The high speeds, the multiple lanes, this type of track is awesome with this Gen 7 car. I'm so interested to see what this group of talent does with it.
And of course, you don't have to wait until next Tuesday night to get more eNASCAR action. because the eNASCAR College iRacing Series week number 1 of the Sunset Splash at home state of Miami Speedway is coming at you tomorrow night, Wednesday, April 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, and until next time, that is it for us here tonight from Joliet. On behalf of the entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for James Pike, Ryan Vargas, Alan Cavana, Kenneth Bueno, myself, Evan Pasoko, and our entire team working behind the scenes, want to say thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you for round number 10 of 11 next Tuesday, April 21st, from Michigan International Speedway. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series can only be found right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until then, good night from Chicagoland, and congratulations to the magician tonight. It's Kwame Scott in Victory Lane.